Okay, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. I'll be cognizant of everyone's time. My name is Donovan Blaylock. I'm a technology evangelist here at SailPoint, and today we're going to focus on SailPoint's Accelerator Pack. This is a way that we've been working on for a while. We'll talk about the specifics of what it is and what it accomplishes. In essence, Accelerator Pack is a set of best practices for 3 of the most common use cases for every customer out there, which we enable a business analyst or a non-technical person to accomplish some of the things that were previously very technical tasks. So we'll show you exactly what those are, what they look like. We'll look at a little bit of the product today as well. If you have any more questions, please reach out at www.sailpoint.com and click Ask a Question in the top right corner, and you can get some additional information on this or others. Accelerator Pack is included in version 8.0 of our product and on. So if you're a new customer coming on board, it is built into the product. We felt that strongly about it. If you are a customer in 7.x and before, then this was an optional purchase. Now, going forward, if you find some benefit in it, there's a nominal cost one time to get Accelerator Pack upgraded to your environment. We have found essentially the ROI on this is 2 applications or more, and this is a no-brainer. And you'll see why here in a second. So without further ado, let's talk about what's inside our Accelerator Pack. We've noticed that our customers have some similarities in their challenges. Digital transformation has been a constant request from the C-level and from the boards of all of our customers and prospective customers. This is making things increasingly more complex, and the length of the project's getting longer and longer as far as identity management and governance is concerned. There's also resource drains. We're seeing in companies that previously had an FTE or 2 dedicated to this task in a very large organization, they're being shrunk. I can only imagine in customers that are more mid-sized, this is a half of an FTE, a quarter of an FTE to accomplish these tasks. And they would like to push these resources out to non-technical people, business analysts, if you will. This is an effort in that particular goal to make sure we can push this down the stack of less technical people and accomplishing things with a much shorter time frame. Also, we're noticing our initial implementations of most customers, either through us or our partner network. And if you're dealing with one of our partners, please use them to have this discussion as well. But what we're noticing are that our initial implementations are between 3 and 5 of your applications. You try to accomplish your goals for those 3 to 5 applications, and then once you have those processes in place, you will continue to add additional applications. This will help in that endeavor. Sometimes that is an additional a time drain and effort drain on your staff, and this is built specifically to accomplish those tasks in a very short time frame. Additionally, we're going to talk a couple of times today about configuration versus customization. The other reason why we bake this into our product going forward is this is a set of best practices driven through a very menu, very wizard-driven operation. We want our customers to become more alike, if possible, so that we can more easily sustain them, and upgrades tend to have less of an impact on their environment. Configuration versus customization has always been at the forefront here at SailPoint, and we'd like to continue that even further in the future. So let's get more specific about where this impacts in the IDM space. So there are unique requirements for what we call joiners, movers, and leavers. This happens. But what we've noticed over the years, now that we're north of 1,000 customers, is are they really unique? Yes, certainly every customer has some unique concepts to them and unique parts of them. However, these joiner, mover, leaver processes 99% of the time fall into one of a certain number of categories that we see regularly. So let's get people normalized in how they do this particular functions. So also development for every customer takes a lot of time to implement in these unique requirements. The ability or the need for customers to develop the unique processes for their environment, including workflows and other aspects like that, make it very challenging, and they raise the total cost of sustainment. So again, if we can get to that configuration versus customization, it not only benefits us as a company, it greatly benefits our customers to get in line with that particular type of normalization process. Also, typically our customers can spend a lot of time and effort translating unique workflow cases into implementation. Providing some boundaries for how this gets done can be very beneficial to an organization. There will always be some special use cases out there. However, if we can get the vast majority of your processes into a normalized, repeatable, supportable process, that benefits you as much as us. This is some information from Gartner to try to highlight what we've said, that I'm not making this up, but every piece of technology, in particular security technology in organizations, they're being asked to do more with less. So the technology needs to step up to the plate to help accomplish that task. It's not just the people, it's also the technology. And this is SailPoint's path in that enablement of technology to further enable our customers to do more with less going forward. So let's talk about the IdentityIQ Accelerator Pack. What is it? Accelerator Pack is the ability to revolutionize the pace at which you're able to work with your business. It includes 3 major functions: rapid application onboarding. This enables a business analyst, or maybe the application owner themselves, to configure the processes for their application without having to involve a highly technical person or the identity management expert in your organization. It also has a smart configurator. So we're asked basic questions about these applications, about some processes, and we'll do the back end for you in a standard fashion. And then there are break glass operations. Now, break glass can mean a couple of different things to several different industries, but these are situations where we need to make sure that we let somebody go and terminate their access immediately. We need to make sure we enable somebody immediately and skip all the back-end processes, but have some security functions in place. So this can be accomplished and people are notified and they can go back and look at it after the fact as opposed to waiting for somebody to respond. This is extremely important for situations where you're walking somebody out the door because they did something nefarious, or you found somebody's account that should not be in the enterprise any longer, or when you're bringing somebody on board. Let's think more positively about somebody coming into the organization, and this may be an emergency situation in which you need to get them working immediately in the middle of the night. There are plenty of our verticals out there where that's a particular concern. Again, I can't state this enough, but this is configuration instead of customization, and doing this in a standardized way. We'll look at more of the specifics here in a few minutes. So as far as application onboarding is concerned, we're actually going to take a look at this in the product here in a few minutes, and we'll see some screenshots here as well. So this allows business analysts, not technical people typically, but business analysts to quickly onboard their application or an application inside the tool by answering some questions inside a wizard-driven profile. These are questions that previously took a consultant or took a services person having some sort of lengthy process to try to figure out and then try to customize how exactly your organization does things. This helps both normalize and reduce the level of the technical capability set of the person who's accomplishing this. So we'll take a look at exactly all this information you see today. It's available for both the joiner, the mover, and the leaver processes. We'll look at some of the tabs today. We won't have time to deep dive into all of them, but we will, and it works for all parts of our tool. So compliance manager is completed. The password management capability set is also completed inside this processes. So we'll take a look at this, but as we complete this wizard-driven process, it works for all parts of the tool. And this speaks to the ROI of it. These tasks previously with consultant and a technical staff in your environment would often take weeks. Now can be completed in hours by a business analyst as opposed to a technical person. The configurator is also a pretty important part of this. So this allows a business analyst to take a look at some of the more technical tasks of the IdentityIQ deployment, like a lifecycle trigger or a ticketing system integration, and easily pull that into the process inside our tool without really making a large project out of the ordeal. And we spoke briefly about this, but the break glass operations are key. Making these out-of-the-box capability sets, we've used all of our information from our deployments, both through our partner community and our own services, to try to normalize this in a fashion that meets the 99% requirement of most of our customers who have this. Suspending all access, restoring all access, and correcting access privileges. Those are things that are very commonly requested inside a break glass operation situation. So obvious benefits here. Eliminating the need to code in the vast majority of our product. That's obviously a benefit. Reduces time and professional services cost of deployments. This is, the ratio depends, but the numbers we're seeing are pretty vast. So if you have one or two applications, we're seeing an immediate ROI. So that's pretty quickly makes sense. So it also allows a lower level person to accomplish some of these tasks. It accelerates the time it takes to bring new applications on board in your environment. And it increases the operational control and responsiveness in emergency situations. And upgrade friendly. Cannot stress that part enough. But our upgrades in the future have a non-impact on these particular types of ways that we configure things. Whereas custom code, things of the sort like that, could potentially, and you have to go through a test dev scenario to ensure that it doesn't impact your operations. This skips all of that, so it's a much easier process going forward. So we'll look at a demonstration. I'll show you a couple of screenshots first, and then we'll hop over to some live product. So let's start with Curtis. This is a mover scenario. So Curtis is in the organization, and Curtis's manager is Victor, and he works in the inventory department. So he has a couple of applications that were automated for his access. Track, financials, and LDAP. So as Curtis moves in the organization to a different manager or a different field inside the organization, we would like to take some standard actions on each one of those applications that are different. This is pretty common for us. On the LDAP application, we want the losing manager to review the access that Curtis is going to have removed before it happens. So should he keep this for a time? Is he doing double duty? Often people are. We'll allow the losing manager to make that decision inside an access review. In track, I want to do nothing at all. In that particular application, I want it to stay exactly the same. And then in the financials application, I also want to review the access from the losing manager. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see what that might look like. This is what a losing manager would see, and this is the ability for the manager to be able to approve or revoke access the person may need if they're pulling double duty functionality with their old job. So for instance, here's the manager screen again in the more blown up fashion. Things that are going to change in the organization, how we would like to have each application change for this user as they move throughout the environment. And this is an automated fashion. Now, here's a different situation. Manuel is about to leave the organization. How would we like to deprovision Manuel from the organization as they go out? Again, this person belongs to the financials, the track, and the LDAP connectors, applications that we have. So as you'll see in the organization, this person belongs to each one of these organizations. They have some rights inside there. They have accounts inside there. And they're going to be handled quite differently inside each one of these applications. In particular, when people leave the organization in the LDAP, we want to disable and remove the entire entitlements. Sometimes we're also requested in an LDAP or an AD environment to move them to a different OU or a different part of the structure and keep their name stored for a time. That's another function you can do in there as well. Track, we want to do absolutely nothing. Maybe track keeps some information about how they get their paychecks, how they can look at that information going forward. So we want to take absolutely no task there whatsoever. And then the financials app, we want to remove entitlements only, but keep the account. You can do this inside each one of these. And you can change the configuration so that they do different things. If you want to change this easily in the future to disable account only in the LDAP application, you can simply go into the wizard and make that change. So this is a series of best practices that we've come up with over the past 11 years of doing this for over 1,000 organizations. It's extremely cost effective. It helps our customers not only expand the implementation, but if they're new customers, deploy in a much quicker fashion with a much lower cost to services. And a very quick time to value as well. This allows you to bring additional applications or expand your existing deployment much quicker than you were able to before with people that are less technical in general. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop over and let's take a look at some product, and then I'll leave some time for us to have some Q&A as well. I'm starting with a brand new deployment of SailPoint's IdentityIQ. Inside here, we actually have it deployed in a cloud infrastructure. So we're looking at this actually on AWS. So inside here, what I would take a look at is we have these new capability sets in the menu on the left-hand side called Rapid Application Onboarding, Smart Setup, and Break Glass Operations. Those are all part of the Accelerator Pack. Let's take a look at this Rapid Application Onboarding. That's the one I promised you I would show you inside the demonstration. So once we have a connectivity set up, these applications show inside here. Let's pick on LDAP. Here are some capability sets we have for aggregation. So we've already identified attributes that likely match this person's account up on both their side and on our identity side. So our identity attribute name equals the CN in this particular application. This is how we match accounts inside there. Now, if we click on the business application, this handles how we do certifications for this particular application going forward. In this case, we're using LDAP to enhance some identity attributes, so it's not really a business application that needs to be certified very often. So you can also do additional attributes. Are there privileged accounts inside this particular application? Great. So I want to do something like CN begins with or ends with a certain value that identifies this as an admin account or a privileged account. I can do that, and we'll go ahead and tag that information as privileged going forward. The same thing with disabled status. Is there a way to notify what type of values identify which accounts are disabled inside this organization, locked service accounts, if you will. All these information are right here and configurable, very easy for the person to figure out if they're aware of how these work. So let's talk about the joiner. So we're going to do a joiner in this particular application. So I've set it up so active contractors and active employees are automatically joined to this application if they have an RBAC or an ABAC scenario that gives them access inside this application. So here's what they're going to get: the employees role, the contractors role. Those are the birthrights they have. There are some other populations I have built in here as well, service cubes, etc., that we've already noted are inside there, which makes it very easy for us to do. So we have lots of options. When they're rehired, we have some options in there, and these are all the scenarios that we have built out, and all of these scripts are already done for you in the background to help you with that particular capability set. So when somebody returns, we can do enable immediately, unlock only, etc. We have lots of options inside here that we can do to configure information about when people join the organization. Let's talk about leavers. So certainly when somebody leaves the organization, we want to take action with this particular application. So we can change in the comments value if you want, terminated by, Department X, or terminated because the person no longer works here. We can annotate some comment values in this person's account on that application if we'd like. We can move the account to an OU or to a container inside this application and keep it inside there, but disabled if we wish as well. We can do all sorts of functionalities inside here if we want inside the application, or we can come in here and decide exactly the types of functions we'd like to do if this person leaves the organization for this particular app. Mover scenario. So this is pretty common as well. If somebody moves in the organization, do I want the losing manager to see their certification about the access that they're going to lose in this app, or do I want to just do nothing? So in a mover scenario, I can decide how I'd like to do things and specifically decide who exactly will get a decision-making process in that. Native change. Another capability set we have with almost all of our connectors is the ability to detect native change. So let's say somebody circumvents the process and goes directly to this LDAP application because their buddy works as an administrator on this app, and they want to make some changes inside the application as far as giving themselves some entitlements or some roles that they did not previously have. What do you want us to do about that? Do you want us to notify people? Do you want us to make an immediate manager certification? Or do you want us to force it to roll back? Often this can change based on the type of application you have. If this is a high priority financial application, we are often required to automate recovery and revocation. So move them back. So if they have additional capability sets, roll them back and notify me in the process that somebody's trying to circumvent the process I have in place. Attribute synchronization. So this was really important as well. What attributes from this particular application do I want to synchronize with the identity cubes out there? This is both a pull and a push. Is this going to be authoritative for this attribute, or is this going to be a receptor of this attribute? Perhaps it can be fourth or fifth in the list of authoritative for this attribute. So for instance, last name, pretty common one that changes around organizations. But as a last name changes, I typically want the application for HR to be authoritative for that. However, a phone number, I want ADB to be authoritative for that field, and email address authoritative for that field. If it doesn't exist inside there, maybe I want this LDAP platform to be authoritative for those as a backup. So you can set all that information right inside here and decide which attributes you would like to synchronize and how authoritative you want them to be inside the identity management program. Approvals as well. You'll see we'll kind of tab through here some of the basic capability sets we can choose to configure. Privileged accounts, how we handle those. Password synchronization, is this mixed with something else? Does this share a password with something else in the environment? Policy violations, what to happen if we have an SOD policy violation inside this particular application, how we want to handle that going forward. New account dependencies, and ticketing integration as well. So we have a specific ticketing integration one as well that goes over every application, but we can also do it from this point. And then self-service application onboarding. We're going to take a look at a lot of other functions that we can do inside here and choose if we want to do any more of this particular process. Now, once you've completed this, you can go back at any point in time and adjust this, which is very nice. This happens in a standardized fashion. It uses our best practices, and it uses our scripts on the back end that we found to work in every organization that we deployed these to. So this gives you an example of some of the benefits that we have with this particular capability set. And I'll leave this on ticketing integration because this is a very common one as well. This is Accelerator Pack in a nutshell. The ability to do what were previously fairly complex tasks that, while our services people were fairly used to doing, could take a lengthy amount of time inside each organization. It also mitigates the chance of organizations having something that's extremely customized by using best practices along the way. This makes it more sustainable for your organization. It also uses less time. It also typically costs quite a bit less money, and it makes it more sustainable from a long-term perspective with people that are not as technical in knowledge. Anyway, hopefully this made some sense. Hopefully you found some benefit. I'm going to open it up to Q&A now and see if you have any questions about what I've talked about today. Oh, lastly, use the Q&A panel if you can, if you have any questions. That's where we would ask some questions. Okay, I have one question coming in. You mentioned in the very beginning that this is included in the product IdentityIQ 8.0 and forward. Yes, not much of a question, but a statement, but that is correct. So our current release is IdentityIQ 8.0. Inside that release, this is now built into the product. It's no longer an option. So we know that this helps in so many scenarios, both quicker and a normalization process. The feedback from our customers has been through the roof. Going forward, we wanted to make sure this is a part of the product. So this is part of our standard practices for deployment, both for ourselves and our great partner community going forward, and they all are very familiar with it and using it. This also can greatly adjust some times that you've had for quotes in the past on how long it took to deploy our product. This can greatly impact that. So if you've engaged us in the past and the amount of money and time that it took to implement the product or the capability sets that you wanted were a bit high, I would re-engage and see what that cost is with the Accelerator Pack. We are seeing some pretty dramatic different quotes as a result of using this going forward. It's a great question. Any other questions out there right now? Yes, you can buy this through our partner community. If you're a current customer and you are working with a partner of ours, which we have some incredible partners out there, please engage them to purchase this add-on if you need, if you're an existing customer, and then they can handle that on their end as well. It's a relatively nominal cost. Great question. Okay, that's all the questions I see in the Q&A panel at this time. I wanted to thank you for your time today. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me, Donovan Blaylock, on any one of the social medias. particularly LinkedIn, or you can reach out through our website and get additional information about how much this costs. Or if you have any more questions about the technical aspects of Accelerator Pack, please let us know there. We'll be glad to forward you any and all documentation that we have. Thanks for your time today, and hope you have a great day.